Hello, I'm Clara. Welcome to my channel. I am an acupuncture student and a knitter, lover of all things healing needles. Today we've got a nice little podcast episode, pretty standard. I've got finished objects, WIPs, which I do have multiples in the works right now. I think I am being converted to a multi-WIP kind of gal, which is very exciting. And then at the end, instead of a media review, I am going to be doing a meditations and musings section from now on. So I have finally found a meditation practice that really resonates with me, that I feel like I'm able to keep up consistently, and that includes meditating on one acupuncture point per night. So I'm really getting to know these points intimately. I'm doing them on myself while I meditate, and I've just been reflecting and thinking a lot about a lot of things, and so I feel like I just have a lot of thoughts to share in that regard, and I think that would be a really great way to fuse my two main interests together here on this platform, that being acupuncture and knitting, of course. So yeah, hopefully you will enjoy that part. So starting off, we have finished objects, of course. So I've got my Breezy Tank. This is a pattern by Leah at Kiss Kiss Rhinestones. It's knit up on 4.5mm needles on Lion brand Coboo. This is the vanilla cream, and then this is I don't know whether it's coal or charcoal, but it's the black color. And I love how this knit up. It has been getting hot here in Richmond, Virginia. I'm sweating right now, but it's definitely been getting hot. It's summertime for sure, and I have worn this quite a bit. It's got nice lower dropped armholes, which makes it, as the name suggests, very breezy, and the yarn definitely helps. It does have that kind of almost cooling feeling when you put it on, and it's definitely got me interested in using more bamboo blends or just straight bamboo. It definitely does split a little bit more than I think a lot of people would love, so you do just have to look at your needles while you're knitting a bit more, which I can see being annoying for some people, especially once you get to the body and you're just it's just mindless stockinette, you're just knitting in the round, but you do kind of have to keep an eye on your needles still. So as far as bamboo blends, I'm definitely eyeing the Drop Spell, just because I really like the Coboo, but I really don't like their color selection. I think it's really lacking, and yeah, the colors that they have just are not for me. They do have a decent range of colors. It's just the tones or the undertones that they do have of those colors are just, I think, honestly not flattering on my skin tone. So I've definitely been looking at some Drop Spell, but I'm also practicing a lot of self-control right now, because I've realized I don't know, my stash is pretty honestly under control in comparison to a lot of people on this platform, but having just backup yarn and stash that's just waiting to be used, I realize kind of makes me a little bit anxious, and it makes me feel like I have to knit faster to get through what I have, so that I can get to the next thing, and that I don't just have things sitting around just I don't know. It's the in physics, there's kinetic energy, and then there's potential energy, and I just feel all of that stash yarn is just this potential energy that's just itching and waiting to be put into motion. And yeah, I don't know, it stresses me out, so I'm trying to not build up a stash. Anyways, back to this shirt. I followed it pretty much exactly to pattern. The only thing is I did cast on one extra stitch for the neckline. So that was just because this color work chart is a custom thing that I just made on Stitch Fiddle. I do have it on my Ravelry. If you look through the pictures, I just put the chart in there just in case anyone wants it. But yeah, super simple, but it is 17 stitches wide, so I really wanted it to sit perfectly centered, so I needed an odd amount of stitches, if that makes sense. So yeah, I just cast on an extra neckline stitch. Other than that, it was all to pattern. I just cropped it a little bit more because I wanted it to hit right around my belly button. That was definitely a lesson for me because I just kept being like, yeah, I probably should try this on, but like I'm too lazy to do that right now. And I definitely should have tried it on earlier because I finally did try it on and I was like, ooh, it's probably an inch longer than I want it to be, because I wasn't originally going to make it cropped. I was just going to like knit it to the full pattern. And then the second I tried it on, I was like, ooh, actually I think I do want to crop it a bit. So then I had to frog back, which was really unpleasant because I don't know how to put in a lifeline that is actually straight. So it involved like an hour to an hour and a half of frogging. And I was like sweating because it was stressing me out so much. So definitely a lesson learned to actually try on my knits as I go in the future. But other than that, I don't know. This was kind of like an unhinged decision, but I was just kind of like interested in trying different knitting styles. And so I was like, ooh, let me try like English flicking because like it looks really cool, looks really interesting. And I do like an underhand grip. And I was like, oh, I wonder how it's like with an overhand grip. And so I was like trying that. And then I was like, I don't know. I was just trying different knitting styles like throughout this top half part because I wasn't super satisfied with the way that I was purling. And so I was like, oh, let me see if I like these better, which is fine. Like, try it out for sure. Like, I do recommend that for people because now I found a way of purling that I really like. But weird decision to do that on an actual garment instead of just like a gauge swatch. But that's what I was doing. So I feel like there is just not the best tension up top. It is pretty subtle because I feel like my tension is pretty good in general, but especially when I was trying the English flicking, like that was not great for my tension. I feel like my tension was very tight doing that, so it was a little bit more uneven than I feel like my knitting usually is at the top, and there was some unevenness and stuff, but it mostly came out in blocking. But I feel like I can just tell that there's a little more unevenness than I usually have. But other than that, yeah, I love this guy. I took lots of notes on Ravelry, so if you have any questions about the way that this came about, you can definitely go on there and check it out. But yeah, I've worn this a ton. It is really nice and cooling on the skin, and again, like look at that. Look at that, it's so nice. And it was also really nice to have like a quicker knit on the needles, which you will see will be a theme. Okay, the next couple finished objects are actually sewing projects. They're like very basic, small, simple, but I did want to share them because I'm excited about it. So the first thing is just like kind of random, but I got this fabric for a curtain and I just thought the fabric was so cool. So you know, it's just a big rectangle with a little folded over part here for a dowel to go through. Really honestly not exciting, but I think the fabric is the exciting part. It's got these cute little monkeys with little hats. And it's just such like a, I don't know, like a fun, fresh, funky little guy. I got this fabric at Scrap Richmond, which is one of like the creative reuse stores. So they have fabrics, they have yarns and stuff, like all secondhand. And so I got this there. It's gonna be for like our closet. Like I took out the door because the closet, I don't know, it's kind of weird. Like it's in the corner of our bedroom and then the door opens, and as it opens it blocks the window, and we also got this like new cat tree where it's like floor to ceiling, and my vision was to like put the cat tree in that corner so that the cats could like look out the window and stuff, but then the door was going to get in the way. So anyways, I took out the door, and then we're just going to put this curtain up, and I just think it's so fun. I mean, look at that. And yeah, really simple. I just kind of like roughly hemmed the edges. I didn't do a double fold or anything like that, so you can see they're pretty like raw edges, and they're kind of fraying, but like I really don't care. I like sewing to an extent, so most of my sewing projects are extremely basic and extremely simple and don't have very good finishings, because after like an hour of sewing I just get kind of tired of it. And yeah, so this was very, very simple. The next thing or set of things that I made, I actually don't have with me, but I'll insert a photo. I made an eye mask from some scrap fabric that I had, and I filled it about 2/3 of the way with rice, so it could be nice and like weighted. And then I also made eye mask covers, so basically just like little rectangular like slips with an open top. I made those also out of some scrap fabric that I had laying around. I made that for my patients at the clinic. So right now I am treating people all day on Saturdays at my school. So it's about 4 to 5 people that I see on Saturdays, and I like to give them an eye mask because unfortunately our school has really harsh fluorescent lighting in the clinic, which is like really not the vibe when you're trying to relax and get acupuncture. And so I really like giving them an eye mask, but I was also like, it's a rectangle and I have the fabric, I have the skills to make it, so I really don't want to just like buy a mass manufactured one, or like spend money really on something that I could very, very easily and quickly make myself. The eye mask covers are just like to keep it hygienic between patients, so I'll rotate out the covers, and then when I go home after the week, I will just throw the covers in the wash, so that they're ready to go for the next week. And yeah, it's really fun. I'm glad I made them in 2 colors just because it's nice to like ask my patients like, do you want the blue one or do you want the green one, and let them choose. And so yeah, who knows, I'll probably make some more covers. Like, it's a nice thing to do with my scrap fabric that I have. I think they're a nice simple project, and I can also probably get more creative with like doing maybe some patchwork and stuff like that. But yeah, it's nice to make something super quick, super simple, and also very useful and practical. And it's a way that I can kind of like give back to my patients, and it's really nice to have something like custom made for them to go along with their treatment. So yeah, it's been lovely. Okay, next up we have some works in progress. So first thing I've got is the Cardigan No. 9 by My Favorite Things. I'm knitting it up on 5mm needles, and I'm using the Hobbii, however you say it, extra fine merino. This one is like the fingering weight one, and so I'm holding it double, and I'm really liking how it's turning out. I am doing a size medium, or like the 3rd size that they have available. Quick note that I ordered this yarn much before they became all pro AI, so will not be ordering from them again. But yeah, I obviously did want to use the yarn, and unfortunately I do really like it. It is Superwash, so that'll be really nice just for like, I'm pretty sure this is going to be like a daily wear thing for me, especially because I am realizing that even though it's super hot outside, anytime I'm inside, I'm still permanently freezing because they just blast the AC. So at my job every day, I'm usually very cold. So I think cardigans are going to be the most useful thing that I can knit. So I have a lot of cardigans in my queue. But yeah, this will definitely get a lot of wear, and I love the color. It's so beautiful. But anyways, this is my first time working with wool, actually. I think, yeah. So I definitely understand what people mean when they say that it's like stretchier when you're knitting with it, which is interesting because I feel like when you like pull on the actual yarn itself, you're like, I don't know, it's just yarn. Like it's not elastic, but it is different when you're actually knitting it up. Like I definitely am like, whoa, this is stretchy. So that was an interesting experience. I kept feeling like my tension was going to be like weird and tight because of that elasticity, but I think it's turning out fine. And yeah, I have not made a whole lot of progress on this. Obviously, I just have these 2 saddles. But I don't know, I got kind of confused. And the next thing I have to do is like pick up stitches. And so I feel like I need to kind of lock in a little bit more for that part. And I haven't had the time to really sit down and do that. Long-term plan is once this is finished, I'm going to embroider the Tiger Balm logo on the back. I had talked about this, I think, like 1 or 2 episodes ago, when I had the idea for like the Tiger Balm logo. And oh my God, like the orange of the tiger on this color is gonna be so cool. I'm so excited. I was originally gonna just do a color work chart, but because it's stitched up at a bigger gauge and with bigger needles, once I like figured out how many stitches wide I had available for the back, like I put it into Stitch Fiddle, and then I realized that I just was not going to be able to get like the definition and the clarity of the graphic that I wanted. So yeah, I'm just gonna have to embroider it on afterwards, which is definitely gonna be a process, a lesson in patience, if you will. But yeah, I'm not new to embroidery, that's for sure. I think it actually worked out for the best because the project for my partner is also just fully like color work charted, and so I'm just like having to look at the chart like all the time. And so I think it'll be nice to have something that is just, you know, a solid color and I don't have to like worry about that. So yeah, I'll just embroider it on later, and I'll return to my embroidering ways. So I was only planning on having like 2 WIPs going, one being the partner project and then the other one being like a project that was knit on bigger needles, so that they could kind of like complement each other. But then I was like, wow, doing this project for my partner that's knit flat plus a cardigan that's also majority knit flat, obviously, is just a lot of purling. And as I said, I did find a method of purling that I really like, but I was also like, I would like a project where I'm not having to purl so much. So I cast on another thing, which is crazy. Look at me go. I'm really understanding now why people have multiple WIPs going. Well, I think a lot of people just get really excited about patterns and then they just cast it on, which is totally valid. But I'm also kind of understanding like hopping between projects that have different things happening to kind of like keep yourself engaged, and keep your hands happy, you know, with like having a variety of things to choose from depending on your mood and the day and whatever. I just get it. Yeah. So I cast on this French twist scarf, which I'm halfway done now, which is very exciting. But it's a little mini scarf. This is actually a free pattern by Caro in the City, and it's got this beautiful little scalloped edge. I'm using the Valley Yarns Granville, which is 90% cotton, 10% merino, and it's in this beautiful kelp color. It's so gorgeous, and it's really, really soft. I think it might be Pima cotton, actually. But yeah, very soft. It's going to be really nice around the neck. And this is my first time doing cables. They are mini little cables. It's like a C4, like a 4 stitch cable or whatever it's called. So yeah, very exciting. I think this is the perfect introduction to cables. Like for me, there's a lot of really cool sweater patterns that I'm interested in that have cables, but I was like, what if I hate doing them, you know? So I was really looking for like a smaller cable project to kind of get me familiar with the process and see if I like it. Because it would really suck to like start on a huge sweater and then be like, yeah, I don't like to do this. So yeah, this was kind of the perfect option. Also, it's a free pattern, so like I love that. And yeah, I do really enjoy the cables, so I think that is definitely going to be something in my future that will come up a lot more. But yeah, this is garter stitch, so no purling involved, so love that. And I don't have a cable needle. I am just using like an extra little 3mm needle that I have. This is actually the Knit Pro Gingers, and I really don't like these actually. I bought them for my summer secret top in a pinch because I was like so excited to start. Like I had my whole night planned around starting that top, and then I didn't realize that you needed smaller needles for the ribbing, and you like start from the bottom. So I had to like run to my local yarn store and pick up some 3mm interchangeables, and these were the ones that they had, and I was really excited actually because a lot of people love these, but not me, friend. I normally use the Knit Picks Radiant, and I think these are really, really good wooden needles. They are so nice and smooth. And then once I tried the Knit Pro Gingers, I was like, okay, I really understand now why people on the internet say that wooden needles are sticky, because these boys are sticky and I don't like that about them. I think, yeah, if that's something that you like in your needles, I think you'll love them. But for me, really hated the knitting experience of these. So I'm happy I get to like use them in some capacity now. I only started this like a few days ago actually, but look at how far I've gotten. It's just very addictive because you start on this corner and then it just starts to like knit up so quick, and it is pretty easy to memorize like the pattern, and so you just keep going and you see it get bigger and bigger, and it's just very satisfying. Yeah, I'm so excited. I think, oh my god, it's gonna look so beautiful. I think it complements my skin tone really, really well. I honestly never thought I would make like one of these little mini scarves. Like when I first got into knitting and everyone was making the Sophie scarf, I was like, I don't know what is the hype about this scarf, because when is anybody wearing a miniature scarf? You know, I was like, okay, winter comes and I'm wearing a big like chunky thing to keep myself warm. Like what context are people wearing mini scarves? Like I really don't know. And then again, like I'm always freezing at my job, and I was like, huh, you know what would be really nice right now? A miniature scarf. Huh. Just to, you know, keep my little neck warm. Like that's so perfect for the spring and summer, where like you can kind of keep yourself a little more warm, but you don't look like, you know, like if you're gonna be if I'm gonna be at the office wearing a huge scarf, I just feel like patients are gonna walk in from the outside and they're gonna be like sweating, and then they're gonna see me and be like, you're crazy, why are you wearing that huge scarf? So this actually makes a lot of sense now. So I'm definitely understanding the mini scarf craze, and I'm on board. I'm super down to make, you know, a few of these in like different colors and just have them also like as a cute little pop of color accessory with your outfit. I think it would be so cute. So I'm finally understanding the need. And also, it was funny, I was out with one of my classmates and we went to this like cute tiki bar, and it was so cold inside, and we were both like, oh gosh, I wish I had a scarf, because in Eastern medicine, like environmental factors such as like cold, especially enter through the external channels on the back of the neck. And so that's why a lot of times, like when you feel yourself getting a cold, you can feel a lot of stiffness in your neck. And I have heard that that's where the Mandarin collar actually came from, or like kind of why it was invented, which is really cool. Like if you don't know what I'm talking about, like if you've ever seen a qipao, it has that little like raised neck part, is to keep the back of the neck protected. So yeah, all the more reason to have a little mini scarf. I'm really getting on board with this. Also, I don't know why, but I got 2 skeins of this yarn. Like I don't know what was happening when I was ordering. Like I don't know, because the pattern is made for 25 grams, I think. So yeah, I don't know why I got 2, but I do obviously love the color and I really like the yarn. So we'll see what I end up making with this. I'm thinking about maybe doing like the Brooklyn backless top by Kiss Kiss Rhinestones. That is a really beautiful pattern, and it definitely uses like less yarn because it's basically like half of a shirt. And so I'm hoping maybe that would be enough for this. So this is 50 grams, and then I'm sure I'll have like a bit extra of this skein. So I don't know. We'll see. If you have suggestions of like other things that I can make with this yarn, definitely let me know. But yeah, really honestly a mystery as to why I got 2, but alas, here we are. So along with that order for the Valley yarn, I also got this one skein of Cascade 220 Superwash in the Heirloom Lilac color. It is a beautiful pale purple, and I got it because I have this Anny Blatt No. 5 in this beautiful red color. I have, I believe, I have 9 skeins of this. I got it off Facebook Marketplace, and the thing is, it's discontinued. And so I was like, am I gonna have enough for a full cardigan? And I like a more boxy oversized fit. And so I was just kind of like, maybe I should have thought about that, but here we are. And I already wanted to add some color work on the back, so I want to add this like heaven graphic that I'll put right here. I actually have this exact design tattooed on the back of my head. However, as you can see, I am growing out my hair right now, and so who knows when I or the world will see that again. Probably not for another couple years. And so yeah, I really like that design, and so I would love to have it on a piece of clothing so that I can like see it and appreciate it. And also I can't even see the back of my head, so most of the time, even when I have my head shaved, I kind of forget that it's there. But again, I love the design, so it'd be nice to put it on something that's a little more accessible. So I want to do the design in this purple. I think this combo is going to be really nice and really pretty. And I think if I invert the design so that like the letters are in the red and then like the negative space is in the purple, kind of like the kind of in the same vein as this like flower thingy. So like the background would be the purple and then the letters would be the red. I think that would eat up a lot of the like yardage needed as far as the colors go. So like I would be using more of the purple, and then I would have more of the red left over for the rest of the cardigan, if that makes sense. So that's my plan there. Hopefully it works out and I don't lose yarn chicken, but we'll see. We'll get there when we get there. I'm not worried about it right now. Just kidding. Sometimes I do worry about it and I lay in bed and I think about it, but I think this is a good plan though. So I think I should be relatively okay. So my last acquisition is actually some fabric. It's this beautiful set of like wool. I think they're probably like yard squares. But they are just, I mean, look at this like combination. Like these were all laying around. I got them at Scrap again. And they were all in these like little mini things for like $3 each, which is so good. And I saw them all together and I was like, wait, this is a really cool combination. And I'm really not like a pattern mixing person, but looking at these all together, I was just inspired. And so I don't know what I'm gonna make with them. We will see. I feel like I should have enough for a cool like patchwork skirt, like a midi to kind of maxi skirt. I just don't I don't know, because I really, again, like I like sewing to an extent, but I don't like doing anything overly complicated. So I'm thinking of just like a simple gathered skirt. I'm just kind of worried that the wool is going to be a little too bulky for that like gathering, and I don't want to do a zipper. I really don't want to do a zipper. And so I'm really just trying to figure out, like, I'm kind of like feeling it in my hand. I'm like, okay, is this going to be like too weighty for just an elastic to hold it up? I don't know. And then also, as far as like patching it together, I think a gathered skirt would be really nice because it's essentially a rectangle that's just cinched at the top. And that would be really ideal for patchwork, because then you can just like, everything's like right angles, you know what I mean? But then if I have to cut anything on an angle, then that makes me like feel nervous about how it's gonna come out. I don't know. We'll see. I just like to have everything kind of like planned out and I know what I'm gonna do with it. So not really knowing is kind of stressing me out. So if you have any suggestions, definitely let me know. But yeah, I definitely think once I figure out what I'm gonna do, it's gonna be a really, really fun project, and it's gonna be so nice to wear in the winter. It's just gonna be so, I mean, look at that. It's so gorgeous all together. I'm so excited. Okay, lastly, for the meditations and musings, as I said, right now I am doing one acupuncture point per night. I have this really good book. It's called Characters of Wisdom, Taoist Tales of the Acupuncture Points. So it'll give you like an overview of like the meridian, and then each page is like a different point, and it'll go through like because each point has like a name in Chinese, and so it'll translate like what the characters mean and their kind of like origins, because if you don't know, Chinese characters are all based off of imageries and like drawings and symbols, so there's a lot of meaning to be extracted from there that we just don't get, like, you know, translating these things into the English language. And in like the West, we just use names like spleen 1, spleen 2, so we don't actually learn the names very often of the points and like what they mean, and the kind of like the history of why they're named what they are. So this is a really great book that kind of goes into that. And so yeah, I've just been reading about 1 point per day, usually at night before I go to bed, and then I will do that point on myself, and then I'll just lay and meditate for a few minutes on it. And this has definitely been the most sustainable meditation practice that I've ever done, because it's kind of like a very clear ritual of like, I read about the point, I do the point, I lay there, I meditate. Because I think before that, it was just very aimless, where I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna meditate now, and I just kind of like sit there in silence and just be like, okay, try to calm the mind, try to like silence the mind, whatever. Or I'd try to come up with something to kind of focus on, but that's hard to do. Like if you're doing it every night, it's hard to like find something that you resonate with, that you want to like focus on for that day. And I would like try to find like other people's things that they had put together, as far as like kind of like prompts or briefs for nightly meditations, and they just didn't really resonate with me. And so this has been a really nice way to go about it. And interestingly enough, I'm reading about the conception vessel, or the Run Mai, and I had a treatment done the other day by a fellow classmate where it was very focused on that particular meridian for what I was coming in for. And it was quite the powerful treatment. And I actually went home and like wept for like the rest of the night, but in a good way, where like it needed to be released. And yeah, like we were working through a lot of trauma and stuff, and I found it really, really powerful. Just something that he said before he started the treatment, where he was like, I want to like send the message to your body that it's okay to reset. And something about that was just very powerful, and it really touched me, because I don't think I had thought about it that way. Like, I don't know, like if you have trauma at all, you know, obviously do so much work and therapy to like, you know, mentally fortify yourself and process all of that. But as you know, or as many of you may know, like the trauma is definitely stored in the body as well. Yeah, it's a very active thing. I feel like that you are constantly asking your body to like let go and process. And that feels like such an active thing, whereas like allowing your body to reset is a much more not quite passive, but it's just a much gentler approach or perspective, I feel. And so I think sending that message to my body instead was just very impactful for that reason. It's like you don't have to be constantly like working at doing this thing and processing and constantly having to do more processing and all that. It's like you can actually just sit back and let your body like reset. I don't know. It was a different perspective, and maybe that's helpful to other people. Hopefully. It was definitely helpful for me. And again, it was a very, very impactful treatment and a very impactful perspective shift. So really appreciated that. Really appreciated him for holding the space for me. And I felt very cared for in that treatment. So yeah, there is that little nugget. Another thing that happened after that treatment and after my meditation, like my meditation after that treatment was, I don't know, notable, I guess. Like it was, I reached a level of trance that I have not before. Like I really felt like I was like floating amongst clouds. Like it was beautiful. A couple days after, every time I looked at my computer screen, I felt like a visceral like no. Like my eyes would start burning, and like I mean, yeah, I spend a lot of time on my computer anyways, and I have for like many years. You know, I work a desk job, then I'm on Zoom classes, then I like have been a music producer for a long time. So just a lot of my hobbies and stuff like involve screens, and I don't know what it was, but like after that meditation, it was like my eyes were burning and I just like physically didn't feel good. It was weird. I noticed it in my Zoom class actually the other day. And so I would start trying to like look out my window, and every time I looked out my window, I just felt so much more calm, and I like physically felt better. And so after that class ended, I spent the entire day, I spent like 3 or 4 hours outside, just like I did some studying, I did some reading, and I did some knitting as well on the scarf, and it just like rejuvenated my like spirit. I think it was definitely what my body needed, and I think, you know, I think my body was trying to tell me something, and I think especially after that, like allowing my body to reset, I think that's what it really needed to like nourish and replenish after that very like emotional vulnerable kind of treatment. And so that was just a really cool moment of like listening to your body, because as I said, I've spent a lot of my life on and around screens, and so I've never felt that way before. And so feeling that like call of being like, you cannot do this right now, you need to be outside, was really fascinating. And I do think it's probably the treatment and that meditation, but also just like because I have been incorporating meditation more regularly into my daily life, I just feel like I am more in tune with what's going on, and I'm able to like listen to my body more and like feel what's happening. And so that's been a really cool experience of just getting more in touch with what's happening in there. So yeah, those are the little nuggets from my meditations that I wanted to share with you today. Hopefully you got something insightful out of it. I don't know, like let me know. Let me know if you have a meditation practice that you really like. I'm definitely open to exploring different options. Also, let me know if you've knit either the number 9 cardigan or the French twist scarf. Let me know if you have ideas for this random skein of yarn that I now have. And yeah, I hope you have a lovely rest of your day. I will catch you in the next one. Bye.